In the aftermath of World War II, two superpowers were going to dominate the economic, political, and cultural life of the globe. These powers were the United States and the Soviet Union. Even though the two had been allies during the war, it had essentially been a marriage of convenience. The threat of Adolf Hitler had brought them together. The United States, the leading capitalistic democratic nation, and the Soviet Union, a dictatorial communist state, were not natural allies. In fact, they were competing ideologies. And this came to the fore. As the threat of Nazism receded, the problems between the United States and the Soviet Union became more pronounced, so that after the war, they were competitors. This becomes increasingly clear as the Soviet Union pursues a policy of establishing buffer states. Over the past 150 years, Russia had been invaded 3 times by the West. Napoleon at the beginning of the 19th century, the Kaiser's armies at the beginning of the 20th century, and last, the Nazis in the middle of the 20th century. And leader Joseph Stalin wanted to create a safety zone in Eastern Europe, an area that would protect the Soviets from their enemies. The United States interpreted this as the Soviet wish for global domination, and that this was just the first step in a process whereby the Soviets would grab territory and take over increasingly large chunks of the world. This competition comes to be known as the Cold War. The two superpowers confront each other through containments like policy, through nuclear politics. The development of a Soviet atomic bomb in 1949 is very disturbing to the United States, and through surrogate wars. Wars that oftentimes play themselves out in the old colonial corners of the world, in Africa and in Asia. This is most clear for the United States at the beginning of the 1950s during the Korean conflict. The Soviet Union and the United States are the polar powers of the post-war era. The rest of the world tends to line itself up in positions either more or less sympathetic to the two powers. But the reality is the US and the Soviets are going to be the main influences of economic and military power for the decades to come.